Welcome home, everybody. It's the D.M.C podcast with your hosts, me, Adam Rigby, and the man, the myth, the mountain, the crouching tiger, hidden dragon, Cody Hunter. Bro, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. It's good to be back again for another episode. We are cranking these out, mate. This is awesome.
Number 6.
Number 6, hey? How's that?
Who would have thunk, mate? Who would have thunk that we talked about showing up and we've done it consistently? Well, at least 6 times anyway, bro.
Yeah, well. We've done well. But I'm pretty sure this is not the last one, mate. But just a great way to commit. And it's a good lesson for stuff that when you're starting something, start with a simple structured step that you can do and you can adhere to consistently, because if you can't, you're really much setting up for failure. So with our schedules where we are with a Zoom call, there's no real excuse for not being able to do that at least once a week. So here we are. We've set ourselves up for success, bro. We've done well.
Teamwork, mate. That's what it is. Teamwork. And the team is ever growing. Some more subscribers, which is brilliant. Thank you. Some great feedback, some more listeners and watchers. So again, we really can't say enough how much we appreciate the feedback that we've been getting. A little bit of merch leaking out there, a little bit of recognition, people liking what we are doing and saying. So thank you, and we'll keep pushing. Just remember to keep pushing the feedback through. We've got Instagram up live now, the daily D.M.C motivations. So look out for that as well. Just our way of staying in touch with you. If there's anything you need to know or want us to talk about, fire it through. We don't have to mention your name if you don't want to. Or if you want to tell us something golden that's happened, cool, share that too. We love to hear success stories as much as we love to help you through any challenges. So mate, how do we go after last week? It was a bit of a scary one, talking about failure.
Oh, massive. Yeah, for sure. A good one. Good little eye-opener sometimes. Good little, as always, just a good chance to reevaluate your current beliefs and values towards those topics and issues. And again, like our listeners know, we don't necessarily come up with big plans for our podcast. This is truly a deep and meaningful chat that we just go with the flow in. So it is cool to be like, oh shit, maybe number one, I'm not prepared to go here, or maybe I haven't really thought about this yet, or maybe like, holy shit, like, it's awesome. I mean, that's what we're doing this for, right? That's what it's all about. And failure is a big one. I mean, of course, that's exactly what, that's a really good one. So I'm excited about what we're planning on diving into today, mate.
Yeah, mate, it felt like it was a bit of a cold bath, because we put our toe in, then it was like, whoo! We started talking about it, and it did become a little uncomfortable, which I thought was funny, and it got us thinking, about a lot of stuff. And
well, also, mate, on that one, we said it after the call, because I was like, we tried to go there, but we were just such positive mindsets that it almost just we couldn't stay down there. We'd like try to go a little bit deeper into it, and then just go pop back to the top and be like, hey, man, it just made me laugh.
The bungee, we went. Our intention was to go deep, and we got sprung back up by our positive mindsets, and our back up we go. It was Mariah Carey high. Don't ask me to do that.
Just made me laugh, mate. I mentioned to Adam listeners after the call, and I was like, mate, we didn't really stay down there very long, did we? We just kept popping back up, back and pop back up, back and pop back up.
Oh,
just it's hard to rewire, mate.
Was it cold? Was it cold down there? Or was it like, ooh. But those are the things we must talk about. The fact that we experience that discomfort. But again, the lesson there for us is our mindsets are such where, we feel as though we don't need to dwell or stay there too long. We need to discuss it, to get it out in the open, pop the scab off it, and then go in hard, pull it apart, smash it to pieces, and it's the bounce back, the comeback.
Yeah, absolutely.
The many comebacks in life that we make daily.
Mate,
that's why D.M.C daily catch-ups are pretty good. And it's my turn. Today. My turn today, so I've got something pretty deep to share with you guys on the daily, so watch out for that one. Watch out for that one. And for me, I find that super challenging, and I'm not fearful of the process. We discussed this when we first started doing that. I do find it quite confronting, because cameras is never really something, honestly, that I've been a super fan of. So to do that, it's just like, fuck, man, get over yourself. You know, those little insecurities that have been pumped in, same thing. They're not my insecurities. I'm in a great place. And what got me through was my why, was the overwhelming. It's like, break down all this bullshit and just get it done, because it's important. You're telling us it's important. I know it is deep down. So I'm just rolling through it. So yeah, I find it those, you know, I guess the one-to-ones, having you to bounce off and talk to is awesome as my support person. When you go deep and you've got to sit down, like, you know, lying down in the park as I was with my one-on-one, I was like, oh, okay. I kind of brought that back, but I pushed on through. So bear with us, peeps. We are breaking ground here too.
Shit, yeah, mate. I love the whole the whole thing about listening. Also, if you're uncomfortable in front of cameras, or if you've got these issues with hearing, you know, people really get annoyed and cringeworthy by hearing their own voices. It's like, they're like, oh my God, what is that? And again, we're all there at some point, but you've just got to do it more and more often. You've just got to get it to a point where you've heard. And isn't it just a shame that you cringe at your own voice? That shouldn't be the way it is. You should be pretty happy to hear your own voice. I think so. You know, so
our voice is so great at it's putting people to sleep, mate. So that's how good it is.
We should be part of that car. We need to be on that car mat reading stories. You know, that's people listen to stories to fall asleep. But again, do it more often. And this is, I mean, underlying theme. First step in front of the other, continue on, do it more, listen to yourself more. If you want to be a better presenter, a better speaker, a better coach, a better anything, video feedback is one of the most uncomfortable ones you can do, but also you can benefit and learn so much from watching yourself. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we watch and we listen both forms to see how it translates, because it can be different, you know. And it's great that we can animate ourselves here and be, you know, you get the hand gestures and the pen throwing and those uncomfortable silences and pauses, and you can see the joy in our faces when we start to talk about stuff we really care about, which is basically everything and flipping everyone. And that exactly is right. Not just us. We're finding out that there's more people like us. Yeah, mate. I off our last week chat, it was funny. We were talking about the failure, and I came out hot, and my motivation levels were super high. And as I said in the D.M.C daily, the listeners haven't caught up with it yet, I just had to check myself. I was like, mate, you cannot sustain this intensity. It is not good for you. And I know to be at my best, you know, to find my best day, I've got to take a rest day. And I just like, I've got to check in. It's not, for me, it's not checking out. It's just taking time to gather my thoughts and find a peaceful spot and just digest where I'm at. Otherwise, it could just, that momentum can get on top of you and you'll always feel like you're just rolling. You've got to stop and gauge your progress, and think, you know, where am I going? What am I doing? Am I just rolling for the sake of rolling? What are my goals? Am I getting closer, or am I rolling further away by doing what I'm doing? So yeah, I was in danger of blowing myself up. I was, you know, ran a 5K. So in my mind, I was like, okay, what's next? A marathon? Here we go.
Yeah, mate.
It's like, Adam, Dick, listen to yourself. This is all of the stuff that got you in trouble previously, and where you end up limping around for weeks. Slow it down. Slow it down,
mate. It's that whole you get the recovery. Like we talked about the whole just saying now for our podcast, you know, 1 time a week, a simple commitment. Do that well. Get the breaks in between so you don't saturate it and don't overdo it and don't burn out and ruin ideas, etc. Same thing for health and wellness. Like as a coach, my target with people I coach is a really simple question. Yo, Adam, can you keep this up in this level for the next 3 months to 6 months to a year? Can you maintain that? I mean, you've got, if there's an event at the end of it, we can sort of, we can figure it out to get to that event the right way. But if this is life, can you do that for the rest of your life? Can you follow this strict insert special diet here? Can you follow that for the rest of your life? Can you train 7 days a week for the rest of your life? I mean, of course, sometimes you can, but it needs to be very smart and structured very smart. But yeah, you've got to be careful. That burnout, or that overcommitting and then blasting out, or you join that insert some kind of gym's 8 to 12 week program and you blow out and you burn all this body fat, you win the competition, and within 3 weeks, you're back to square one again. You know, you're straight back to where you were.
It's that whole consistency and what I do. Like, I mean, we've probably both put ourselves through a whole lot of these programs, and I've been invested in a lot of coaches. And what I like to do is just pick up the parts that work for me, because it doesn't always unfold that it's the perfect plan for you. There are some amazing coaches out there, and if they're the ones that are sitting down and taking time to talk to you about what's important, what you do, what else is in your life around the goals that you're trying to achieve, rather than, right, here's your 12-week, a day one, you do this, eat this, do this. Okay, just be wary, be mindful. The coaches that take a more, I mean, it's an overall holistic approach that talk to you about what else is happening in your life, because you've got to get that balance right. Because if you don't, it is a house of cards. It can all collapse, and it could be, you know, even in business is the same. You've got to be able to manage that effectively. Listen to people who say, yeah, you can't absorb yourself, because you will literally dissolve. When all the ideals are, yeah, I'm just trying to create a beautiful life for myself, I'm trying to do this is my ultimate goal, but be mindful of all of those other things around you, those variables, the family, the people, because that's who you're ultimately sharing the success with, and that's who has to put up with you when you're carb depleted, second workout of the day, coming home angry. Yeah.
angry, tired, and broken. Yeah. I mean, my worst training was definitely going through prep for a bodybuilding competition. And again, at that point, I had no kids to worry about. My wife and I, you know, we lived together, but obviously, but I trained 3 times a day. I lived in a gym, worked in a gym. The conditions were perfect to be able to achieve that. It was only a 12-week prep, so I just smashed through that. But thinking about doing that now, and the sacrifices I'd have to make with everything where we are, it's just, well, it's a different level, It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you know, we can go right back to the start. We talk about the image, and we don't see the work that people put in, or the professional advice or help. We don't see the money that people spend on, you know, whatever it is, whatever they're trying to improve. All we see is the end result, and that's what we aspire quickly to do. You know, no one became Mr. Olympia by just thinking, I want to be Mr. Olympia, and sat in his chair and just, you know, thought about being Mr. Olympia, and then suddenly got up, walked into the hall and stood and took his shirt off, and everybody goes, wow. You know, day after day. It's the grind that people kind of, you have an idea of it, right? But until you're in the middle of it, you know, day one's great, motivation is high, but what happens on day 2? What happens on day 3? The ache. What happens on week 2? What happens on week 3? Are you being consistent? Can you back up?
Oh man,
you know, when everything starts to fall, when work pressure gets on top of you, all of these types of things that we don't consider, you know.
Yeah, and but think about I really like the example of Usain Bolt, old Bolt mate, who's, you know, his event's a 10-second event, or sub 10, whatever his time is these days. So all you see is him on the field of play smacking out the sprint. But think about everything that goes on behind closed doors, the amount of time, effort, training, nutrition, sacrifice. It's just unbelievable, But you don't, this is all for a 10-second race, sub 10 seconds race.
Yeah, mate, and it's not the fastest guy that wins, It's the guy that slows down last. Yeah. So that's what they train for. That's what they train for. Lots of incredible examples, and again, it's easy to be fooled by the result, by the picture, by the gram, by this perfection. We will harp on about it and continue to harp on about it. There are themes that we think we need to thread through and be consistent, so it becomes our mindset, our proper mindset. We are perfect, you're perfect just the way you are. What we're trying to do is enhance, be better versions of ourselves, okay? We're just energy, and it's about the energy that we're putting out. That's the energy you want to get back, right? Go into a situation. If you're positive energy, there's going to be positive outcome, or positive things are going to be drawn to you, just like being negative. You know, if you walk around thinking bad things are going to happen, are you really surprised that bad things happen? Do you put yourself in a situation on purpose? But if you walk around optimistic, the right amount of pessimism, right amount of skepticism, just a little bit, high on the optimism, optimism counter, just push it right to the end. Just go hard.
I remember that old walk, they'll walk around the old head down, the old hunched over. Mate, you're just going to crash into a wall or trip over a gutter, or you're going to get hurt anyway, mate. So be tall, be proud. What do we call it?
I went through that last night with the class, actually. You know, just remind us of why you're here. Be proud of you. If it just lift your chest up, lift your chin up. posture does make a massive difference, especially if you're exercising the posture, the straight spine, the open chest, room for your lungs to just expand, and you just feel better. The power stance, male or female, you know, don't feel as though you have to get pushed into a corner. And that's why, especially, you know, you see a lot of tall people that walk hunched over because they don't want to stand out as tall people.
Well, it comes
vertically challenged people. What do? Walk around like this, a little higher, with the pump shoes. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with being vertically challenged.
I remember not wanting to be tall at school because it meant you might be seen, you might be called upon to do some reading in front of the class, which terrified you, and you were like, everyone just slouch down and hide, get down low. Everyone's the same height, just like hiding away. You know, it's so funny.
Technique.
Yeah, that's right. Just hide.
Well, mate, anything you can hide behind, like you're a man mountain. He's trying to talk. He tries to talk himself down, peeps. But he is.
Like I said, mate, average build, mate. Average build.
Skyscrapers in the background, actual size.
we're actually on the edge right now, eh? We're actually on the edge.
Actually there. This is real footage. Yeah. So hey, backing up on our discussion about failure, and you know, it's not it opened up a little conversation afterwards, and for me especially, and for you too, mate, failure is something that we are not scared of now, but certainly previously it was a fear of ours, or it's something that drove us, you know, a motivator, if you want, so turning it into a positive rather than negative, you know, because we know that in the process of failure, it's the building blocks, and again, it's those comebacks, every time we get knocked back, we step up, we knock on another door, or we take another step, we pick the bar up again, or we, you know, go for that run again, or we do whatever, we jump in the pool, we read that book, you know, we go to that other meeting, we introduce ourselves to other people. There's always the right situation, and if it didn't work out for you at that time, maybe it wasn't meant to work out for you at that time, so you learn and you grow and you move forward. So there was the fear wasn't there for us in that failure, but certainly it's grippy. It can be grippy, and it got us thinking really about, you know, that fear, man, what a killer. What are we most afraid of? What does it do to us, you know, in the throes of battle, being fearful? What can that do, that emotion? How can we harness it in its purest form and use it in a positive way? So I'm going to come straight at you, bro. What are you most afraid of? What are you most afraid of?
It's a good question, mate. I've been asked it a few times, and it's not snakes. But I think, like, there's a few things that really used to be fearful for me. And again, you start stuttering. Hey, this is like, they're difficult questions, and that's why I didn't know Adam's going to ask you this. But you start going like, and I think the last time I was asked this, which would have been years ago, I did the same thing. I was like, fuck, trying to like figure out like what it is, and you're like, holy shit, what am I really afraid of, eh? And I think you get afraid of, like, you know, for me, it'd be things like isolation, you know, being away from family, being stuck away from people you care about, and in fear of being trapped. I think this whole thought of not having the opportunity to be free in what we're doing, to be able to the freedom to move and travel and be and experience. You know, I think there's also, again, there's some major underlying little fears of failure. We talked about it. I mean, I used to have no fear of failure. I was quite famous for just pulling the trigger and fucking let's go. But again, you have some scarring after you do fail, some big hairy fails. Then you do peeling off, you know, the old Band-Aid, the sores start building up, and it is, again, you've got to, you know, it may not be an instant comeback, but I definitely am on the mend. But again, that's another one as well. There is still some fear of failure. The scars are still sitting there. They're going to be massaged out so they become nice and smooth. But I mean, on the spot, there are probably some that come to mind pretty quickly.
Fucking, that's funny. And the scars, are something that you've got to be mindful of, but be proud of them, because it did get you to this point. And yeah, that whole failure thing, man, it is scary to open yourself up to the opportunity where you might fail until you go through the process and you have the ability to unpack it. And like I say, there's listeners of a variety of ages, you know, from 18 up to over 60, and we welcome you all. And you'll know you've had different experiences with failure as you've gone through life. Failure is a daily thing. You know, we come across it in its many small forms, but it's a daily thing. And I would go back to what Cody would say about starting your day and making your bed, you know, and doing that right. And you know how I started to break things down in terms of processes of trying to eliminate those little mini failures that I had by trying to execute things really, really well, by doing things super, super well. But yeah, failure is everywhere, every day, in everything. But what I love about the modern world that we live in, everything that's around us, everything we are touching, it's someone's dream, it's someone's idea that has been put into action, someone who has failed. They didn't just come up with the idea overnight. And it wasn't about, you know, on the most part, being successful. It was just that burning, passionate desire to invent something to add to the world. Some of it is viewed as, I guess, detrimental. Some people are doing some amazing things and beautiful things with technology, but we're built upon many, many building blocks of failure upon failure upon failure. And, you know, it's about getting out there and taking those shots, mate? Taking those shots regardless. And if it misses, break it down. You listen to the giants of any game, Kobe Bryant, you know, he would just, his key and his strength after those failures, he would sit down like we talk about and unpack it and really go through why did I fail? Why am I fearful? And that would help him get to the next stage. You know, if it was a strength thing, if it was a concentration thing, he would make it his mission to actually overcome that and work hard to overcome it. But at least, you know, don't just go through it and think, oh, failed, I'm not going to go again. Of course you're going to go again. Because why? Because we're trying to chase things we are super passionate about. And if you're not good at it, that's okay. You can get good at it by repetition. And if you're great at it, keep doing it, because there's nothing wrong with doing something you're great at it and shouting it to the four corners of the earth, you know. Be proud of the skills that we have and amplify them if you can. Yeah, man, but scary. Fear. And the funny thing, like, as soon as I said that to you, like, you step back, hey?
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
You like step back.
You start like fumbling, you start figuring out what you're trying to say and what you want to, mate. Put you on the spot. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. We like it.
So I was just going to say, I like the whole idea. So when you think about people who fail and they fail more and you fail more. So what it's creating in that sense is that it's not making that experience less scary or easier. What it in turn does is actually making us braver. It gives us more courage because we've had more experience through that environment, right? So it gives you, your courage improves, you get more brave, and you're more likely to jump back in more and more and more and more. But the situation itself is still the same as it was before, and potentially, if it's a really long, that fear will not go away, but you're getting braver in it and you're just getting stronger in it, and you just go and attack it way more often. And again, it just becomes part of your life, right? Once you fail forward, once you accept that and you know that, you know, I got to take this shit on all the time. You know, like think about what that resilience that builds up, you know, especially with kids, right? When you see kids, and we've got to, again, they were scared to walk at one point. There's lots of fears going on. We keep pushing them through it. Keep going, you know? And they just get braver and braver and braver.
Fear is natural, right? We need it. We need it in life, and it's part of it's intuitive, and a lot of it is, again, we talk about that stuff that's pre-programmed. We are scared of stuff. Some of it's logical. Some of it makes no sense whatsoever. And if you've ever seen the movie Candyman, you'll know about rational fear. Walk up to a mirror and you do it, because you won't.
That's right. Yeah,
it's a movie, and still you won't. And still you won't. If you haven't seen it,
probably
don't. It'll wreck you.
When you're young, you do it with your siblings, you'd be like, come on, do it. And you'd be like, oh no, I'm going to do it. It's
yeah.
So good. So good.
Rational versus irrational fear. Fears are it is natural to be fearful in situations we need it. Okay, it is that intuition. So we get in a situation where, you know, if it's dark, what are we looking for? Well, probably back in the day, we were thinking about predators, you know, right. Threats. We may be looking for food or things that probably saw us as food. All of these things about survival. Fear is part of survival, but it's just what we're conditioned now to be fearful of. Like I say, everything around us has been built on failure and other people's fears. Name me something that someone hasn't done in this world that they haven't done. Is there anything, you know, you could list your fear, whether it's skydiving, whether it's heights. Okay, let's talk about heights. Or fire. People have walked on fire. People have jumped out of planes. People have jumped off buildings. All of these types of things. Climbed Everest. All of these types of things people have done to show us all that it is possible. And yeah, you need to have the right amount of respect. You need to have fear. Fear means you will be prepared for whatever eventuates the worst possible outcome or worst case scenario. Special services, the elite military, and this is one of the ways that they prepare, is they go to a worst case scenario and they go through every single detail. If I get into a situation where it is me and another guy and there is nothing but a butter knife and I am butt naked, what do I do? They will go to that depth. They will have it. So if they get into that situation, they've already run through it in their mind. They know what to do. So the fear, when they get in the throes of it, emotion doesn't take over, but they've got this practical application to be able to overcome what could be potentially a fear and an absolute shitstorm. And it got me thinking, right? Because I was thinking, oh, you know, crikey, what are you afraid of? And the same thing, like failure. Like I've failed many times, and I'll continue to fail. That's okay, but I've learned some valuable lessons. If I didn't learn, I'd be concerned. You know, if I wasn't a better person because of the failures, if I couldn't pick myself up and I didn't have friends around to kind of check me and help me on the way up, then I would be concerned. If I was still making the same mistake day after day, failing the same way, doing the same thing, then yeah, I'd be concerned, right? Definition of insanity, doing the same thing day after day, expecting a different result. If you are failing, learn, unpack it, overcome it, next step. But yeah, I was thinking, unpacking my fears. So here's a couple of funny ones. Like, I was thinking, what am I afraid of? And I'm going, yeah, okay, sharks and lions.
The go-tos.
So, okay, Rigby, sit down. Let's unpack this, Rigby. I'm going, okay, let's sit down and go deep on sharks and lions. I'm going, worst case scenario. Well, first of all, if you came face to face with a shark or a lion, I guarantee any person, there would be an element of fear. There would be an element of fear. And, you know, when you come up against these giants, these killers, these predators, and everybody says, oh, you know what you got to do? You just got to stand still. Get fucked.
Yeah, that's right.
I challenge you in that moment to stand still. Like, and sharks, they say urinate. That would not be an issue. Urination in the presence of a shark would not be an issue. But unpacking it, it's natural. Everybody must be fearful. It is natural. So I'm not the only one. So why would I carry that around as a fear? Why would I say, yeah, well, I'm scared of this? It makes sense. But on the other hand, it doesn't make sense for me to carry it, because why should I carry every single other person's fear as well? Go into and say, oh, I'm not afraid of a shark, mate. Yeah, go on, I'll swim with the great whites with a stake strapped to my heel. Mate. Good on you. I know sharks do get a bad press. I know we need to look after lions and the wildlife. Lions are super scary to me. I go into the zoo, I'm like, oh. But again, let's unpack it. Worst case scenario, am I going to get myself in a situation? Now, worst case scenario, if I climbed a fence at a zoo and ended up in a lion enclosure, shame on me. Shame on me. I'm not going to get in that situation. So I unpacked worst case scenario. How could I? It is illogical to think that I could get to that step. Would I be on a safari? Probably not. So the fact that I just kind of removed those fears by thinking about it logically. Same with the shark. If there'd been shark sightings, and there had been when we were in Perth for a friend of mine's wedding, absolutely glorious event. They told us not to swim because a 3-meter unidentified object had been spotted not far offshore, like 100 meters offshore. Zero chance that I would be in that water, anything sort of above my knees anyway. So why would I go for a deep ocean swim, try and swim 1.5 kilometers out when I know it's a migration path for great white sharks? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Would I potentially go to a safe spot where I could jump in a cage and watch sharks in the natural habitat? Oh, I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, we're gonna need a bigger boat.
Depends how afraid of that you are, but that's when you talked about fear the other day on a message, I sent you that whole acronym, man, that false evidence appearing real, because most of our fears are purely of what hasn't even happened yet. We walk into a room and it's like, well, we don't even walk in a room yet. We're about to, and we're like, shit, what if someone's there that I don't want to see, or I don't know, or they don't like me, or I don't like this, or you start being afraid if that's something that's fearsome to you. It hasn't even happened yet. So you put yourself in that situation. Or I'm afraid of sharks. Hey, mate, I'm not even near the ocean right now. There's no chance of me swimming in the next 3 months, whatever it is. But it's funny, isn't it, that we're so afraid of the idea of something happening when it hasn't even happened. We're just purely shitting ourselves about the idea of something bad happening. It's
always huge levels of anxiety. Walking into a room, and we do it all the time, right? Where our jobs are all about going in and meeting people. And I fall back on, I love conversations. I love coming in and meeting people. It's what I do. So it's where I thrive. I just like going in and saying hi and finding out more about people. I'll deep dive and we'll have a half an hour chat before we really get into it. That's just me. Curiosity, or curious by nature, and genuinely interested in learning about people and their businesses and all of the things that make tick, just like in a gym environment, curious and passionate about identifying why people are there and what they're doing and how we can help them. That's what it's all about. If you don't know the problem, how can you offer a solution in any environment? But even I used to have the fear or anxiety in walking into a room, but probably because I wasn't confident in who I was. I hadn't kind of accepted that I was a little bit off center, or was trying to be a little bit, I don't know, or what I knew at times that I wasn't myself. And sometimes that can go both ways. Sometimes that you can retract, and sometimes you can just overexpose yourself in those environments, be a little too high energy, but or get known for the wrong things. And I do love a good joke, but we talked about it before. When you do, as in the podcast, when you love a good joke, people don't tend to take you seriously, to take you seriously too much. So when I'm talking about a podcast, a lot of people are like, yeah, whatever, good one.
Yeah, go on, bro.
That's why I got the t-shirt done. And the cat.
Advertise it. Yeah, mate, it's so good, eh? But I think it's that setting the intention, because I'd be afraid. But again, if you've set an intention, I talk about it heaps. But if you're saying, like, if you go into a room and you say, I saw one person was saying something along the lines of, like, don't be afraid of, don't think about all the people who may not like you. Go in there thinking, like, shit, I wonder who I like in this room. I wonder who I will like. I wonder who I will want to talk to. So you're not going in there straight away, like, afraid of trying to please the whole room. The other one with me, I used to coach hundreds of people in these big groups. And again, like I say, make it the intention that I just automatically take control of the environment. I say hello to everybody. I introduce myself. I take all the fear away from their role, because obviously most of them probably haven't set the intention of the same thing. And then for me, it makes it so easy. I just walk up and go, hi, I'm Cody. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you. What's your name? Where that's my job. It's like my job. So if you go to a party or any environment, if you switch that, if it's a work situation, we can do it easily. Sometimes socially, we may be a little bit more even nervous because you haven't actually set that intention, or it's not part of who you are right now. So just flick the switch. All right, I'm into this. I'm going to meet all these interesting people. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to say hello, shake hands, kiss babies, something like that.
Yeah, introduce and connect in those situations. And I'm mindful too now that, you know, when you walk in and there's someone maybe on the peripheral that isn't being excluded or hasn't been introduced to, I'm in. I'm like,
yeah,
sorry, what was your name?
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, sometimes you don't think about it. You just take it for granted if you've got someone you're talking to. And even if you don't, if you know the person via association, but you're not sure of their name, don't be afraid to ask it again. Sorry, what was your name again? Or introduce the person next to you first and say, hi, this is. And then generally they will go, hi, I'm John, or I'm Mary, or I'm Sue. Ancient ninja technique. But if you don't know the name, it's okay to say, hey, what was your name again?
Yeah. That's right.
Again, we can go back to the fact that you and I have both been taking a couple of bangs to the head. And it does affect our memory from time to time. It does take me a while to get a name in, but once it's in for a large portion of time.
Like 25 minutes.
27 minutes at least. No, you know, if I can get in there, or the old word association.
Yeah.
I used to go, you know, people would say, okay, what's your name? Adam like apple. And so people would remember my name. It's pretty easy, mate. It's the top of the phone book. That's why, apart from probably if there's anybody called Aaron listening that always get pocket dials, you know, because you're at the top of people's phone books, the amount of calls we get from people's pockets.
Yeah.
Again, another pro tip, team, just put a 0000 number, just so you don't make those embarrassing phone calls, or your iPhone doesn't make those embarrassing phone calls, because you know when you do, and you never know when it's going to be, and whether people are going to sit and listen, or whether it's going to leave a message, or what you're up to. But back to
another
being back to being fearful. It is scary. Life is scary. Some of the things we do, we expose ourselves to a lot of risk daily. It's frantic out there. If you are fearful of a situation, a thing, a person, potentially, break it down. Why? You've got to unpack it. Is it rational? Is it irrational? What's the worst case scenario? And what are some of the steps that you think you can take to overcome that fear? If it's irrational, then you can just go, fuck it. Like the old mate, sharks and lions, don't worry about it.
And I think, bro, on that one, just on there, it's like, and number two, are you making assumptions on what it actually is? Are you doing one of the big and like, is this an assumption? Do you even know what the real evidence here? False evidence? Because, you know, like you talked about the Band-Aid. You mentioned it first, but I do love the old analogy of the Band-Aid over the festering sore, right? And so you've got the Band-Aid and you're super afraid. You don't want to tear that shit off because you don't know what's happening. You're like, if I look under there, probably a gaping infestation of like fungus and pus and grossness. And so you're like afraid, you're like, I'm not touching it. I am not touching it. And then the one time you finally get the courage and you're like, fuck it. Okay, I've got to address this issue right now. And I've got to make the phone call. I've got to talk to the person, whatever it is. You peel a little corner of that Band-Aid up and you go, oh, hold on a second. Oh, actually nowhere near as big as what I thought it was. Nowhere near. I blew it out of proportion. I was afraid of something that I didn't even know that I made assumptions on it, didn't even know what it was. And actually, it's not actually that bad. I can get onto this and just go, as opposed to covering it with more Band-Aids.
Yeah, bro. And we can be fearful of, and rejection is a big thing to be fearful of, eh? So going into a situation where people don't get you or don't want to hang out with you, and it starts from a very young age, we're segregated and there's bullying and groups of people that hang out, trying to get into new groups, break into new groups, or just meet people. If I hadn't got over the hump, I wouldn't have met my beautiful, stunning human being of a wife all those years ago. I had to get over it. Fear of rejection was something that I had to go through and open up the opportunity that potentially I could have failed. And if I did, you know what? I was going to give it another crack. I was prepared to step up to the plate again because I knew it'd be worth it. And man, here I am. She's the love of my life. And how lucky I am every day to wake up next to that, because got over the fear of rejection and stepped up to the plate. And you know, if you walk into those situations and you're worrying, oh, I wonder if they don't like me. And if someone is prepared to judge you on a moment or a word or a sentence, and make up their mind about you because of what type of trousers you're wearing, then get fucked.
Yeah, That's right.
Are they worth your time? Is that the type of person you want to associate with? You want to walk into a circle and someone welcomes you in and you want to open up and have a conversation. And the classic one is, oh, what do you do? Never go to your job. Never talk about your job first. Talk about your passion, as in, what do you do? Talk about your passion first. And people will go, yeah, but what do you do? Go back to the passion, something tangible. You know, people need to compartmentalize you and figure out, okay, I can put them in that wage bracket. Where do you live?
Yeah.
Okay, I can assimilate, you know, and they can start to ask questions based on the things that you have. We see it all the time. You know, you get people coming over to your house just to see what type of house you have, or they want to know what kind of car what type of car you drive. Who gives a fuck? What does it matter what type of car you drive? You know?
Yeah, that's right.
At the end of the day, you know, if you want to live a simple life, fantastic. In terms of that aspiration, we're actually fearful to aspire to live a simple life.
I know. Yeah, that's right.
You know,
it's weird, man.
Because why? Because what's forced down our throat, the version of success that is forced to us is, you know, what do you want? I want to drive a Porsche. Good one. So what about saving the planet? What about being an incredible human being? Is that important? Or do you think something, an object, is probably more important in terms of you moving forward and progressing as a human being? Or owning a big house, that's a byproduct of you probably following your passion, and it's maybe a cool thing to have, something you've always wanted to own. And if you've got down the track and you've got to a stage where you've worked hard and you've been able to buy yourself the dream car, fantastic, but don't let that define you. You know, you don't want to be known as the Porsche guy. What you want to be known as, you want to be known.
I'm just laughing because I know people. Yeah, it's funny.
You don't want to walk in with your Ferrari jacket on and your gloves, so everybody knows.
The short leather gloves, the short finger leather gloves.
Yeah. It's about what are we truly aspiring? You know, are we fearful of telling people that, hey man, we just want to live a simple life? Hey man, for me, it's all about happiness, and for me, it's all about the opportunity to help people. And so what that does is, you know, we're made to feel like we are failing regardless of our effort, because our effort and energy is into the more holistic approach and people, right? And we talk about making the world a better place. Whereas Instagram and the universe is their conditioning us saying, you must buy this, you must own this, you must be here, you must live here, you must have that. We need to put you in this box. You know, here's a questionnaire. What do you do? What's your bracket?
Yeah.
Get fucked,
mate. we actually, you mentioned this last week too, and I forgot to say, but I'm reading a book right now called Lost Connections, and it's about depression, right? And about how and I mean, there's so much in it, but I listened to a part recently on it that talked about exactly that, about how companies market to you, and they want to make you feel like shit if you're not using the cell phone. They want to. You remember Apple marketing? Apple marketing, you'd have a pair of Apple headphones in, and there'd be people dancing and having fun, like you wouldn't even see the product, but they made you want to be like, oh man, I want to be cool like them. And I feel like shit because I've got, you know, a different device that does the exact same thing, but it's not the same one. You know, I don't have the Nike shoes on so their whole objective is to show you what people that have those things are like, and how happy they are, and how cool they are, and how much of a loser you are because you don't have them. You know,
I know, right?
That's the thing. So you guys need these because you're losers without them. And then you're like,
look, mate, having just bought a pair of new shoes, mate. I mean, was that where you're going? Was that where you're going with this?
I'm sorry, mate. Actually, I have a good example of this because I remember, I mean, my family was definitely not a wealthy family growing up, but we had everything we needed and we were happy, but to the most extent. But I remember going to a cross-country event in high school one year, and I had on a pair of these blue shoes. There was no brand. They would have been from, I don't know if the warehouse was that big back then, but anyway, it was from somewhere. And I remember running in this race, and it was pre-puberty, which meant Cody was short, fat, and really bad at sports. But I tried. And so I'm running, and I remember running past this group at the school, and this girl goes, "Nice shoes, bro." Like, she just dug into my shoes. And I remember just going like, wow, that cuts real deep, eh? I remember feeling like absolute shit. Went back home, and the amount of lawns I mowed to buy my first pair of Nike Air Maxes from Queenstown, I went to every friend, family. I $10 per lawn, and I was like, my goal is to own a pair of Nike shoes. So I did exactly what everyone. I conformed. I felt like shit, and I wanted a pair of shoes to feel good about. So anyway, there's some good lessons in that, and I'm really proud that I did that. But also, it's quite funny that it went that far, where exactly what we're saying. I felt like shit for not being in the cool crew. I didn't belong.
Mate, the marketing, you hit it on the head, because I did want to get a decent pair of running shoes because I have had calf issues, or diagnosed with crystal calves. And it's actually, I decided to get some, to ask some questions, to see some professionals about it, to get some help about it. And it appears it could be some nerve stuff that I'm getting done, and also may need a little bit of refinement, a couple of things taken off. But that's okay. It's all about moving forward, right? I'm not fearful of the process. I've been through surgery before and was able to bounce back. But, I Googled, I went for a Google search, and I thought to myself, why am I trusting this giant search engine, right, built by these multi-billionaires to direct me in a certain location? Why am I listening to them for advice? Why am I seeking advice? So I decided to utilize a very experienced, well-respected running legend who I know and worked with some years ago, who was still coaching many, many successful runners. Awesome dude. And I just said, mate, what do you recommend for shoes? So he came back with a rather comprehensive list of things that I should look for in terms of what the drop from the heel to the forefoot should be, what the recommendation would be, some recommendations on what I should do also to strengthen, and a name of a shoe that I could potentially look at. And I'm like, golden, mate. Absolutely golden. Was he driven by a multi-conglomerate? Probably not. I mean, he's probably been sponsored, or he was definitely sponsored back in the day. So that might have altered his choice in terms of shoe. But, he gave me solid advice. So that's what I based my purchase on. I didn't go on Carbo Flex Generation XT245 multi-foam expert running, break the world record.
Let's go.
Incidentally, the women's 5K record has just been beaten by a Scottish woman, a triathlete. Actually, she was a runner turned triathlete. But they can't validate the record because there was no drug testers present. Yep. So they can't validate the world record because there was no level 4 drug testing people or facilities available at that time. So obviously, if someone punches a hole in the world record, they go in and they take urine or blood sample and they test it. Be an interesting time for an athlete, or athletics, because what is the testing regime? Is there no testing at the moment?
Mate, I think those top athletes are random, aren't they? Yeah.
Oh, smash the world record, mate. Smash the world record.
What was her time? And what did she get?
It was 14 minutes and something. 14 minutes something. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
What do you think about all the
faster than 20 kilometers per hour?
It's mad, eh? Speaking of drug testing, so what are your thoughts on the whole? Like, I think it's just an interesting debate. The whole enhanced versus natural versus where do they sit in the human race? Do you think we allow it to a certain degree and just see how physically fast and powerful we can be? Do we keep it a la natural? What is a la natural? The shoes these days can improve performance. The creatine, the supplements, the anything, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Shit, mate, it's a can of worms, eh? Far out, it's a can of worms.
I did a prezzo one at a university years ago about this, but it was quite interesting.
Did you? Well, like it or not, the reality in any, I guess, New Zealand athlete that has gone overseas to try and make it in the world has come across drug use, widespread drug use in a number of sports. The scary thing for me, there are so many sporting associations that turn a blind eye to its blatant use. And moreover, its side effects, the effects it has on people and society and aspiration too. So you're talking about kids who want to be a pro baller, and the reality for them is pro cycling, classic example back in the day. you know, the Lance Armstrongs of this world. He said everybody was doing it, and no doubt everybody was doing it. Are there things they do currently to help them, to aid them? Chemically aided, or substances that they take, vitamins as such? Almost certainly to enhance performance, but there are levels that they are allowed to have, legal levels of substances. I'm not going to cast doubt or dispersion on any physical efforts that have been made to date, but just to say that the associations, you know, when you look at cycling, takes a massive rap. I'm super passionate about cycling, and and every time I see another guy getting snapped for EPO or drug use, I just put my, you know, head in my hands, because we should know better by now. The guys should know better by now. The teams should know better by now. You know, we're way smarter than that, but they're all about optimizing their performance because there's so much money in it. Right. The rigorous testing that they go through, and then they go to something like an athletics event, or baseball, American football, you know, hockey, ice hockey, for instance, and even amateur sport where guys are 100% on the gear, juicing, glowing, right, taking whatever they can get, walking across the borders into Switzerland to grab whatever they can get, athletes disappearing for months on end, miraculously reappearing. CrossFit.
But yeah, CrossFit had one.
Fuck, let's talk about CrossFit, mate. I mean, everything has been tainted. And unfortunately, we look at these superhuman performances, and there is always skepticism now created when you see you know, these performances. You're like, man, that guy's got to be juicing. Why isn't he juicing?
Hard out. First thing anyone says, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's what you associate. Now, you walk into any gym and you know who's pumping stuff in, right? You can tell. Rather large, rather aggressive, picking stuff up, putting stuff down, making a lot of noise. And that's their prerogative, you know. At the end of the day, it's their body. But Jesus, Mr. Olympia, those guys are on the gear,
mate. They just cycle through. Another one that's a real problem, I think, with it is when people these days on Instagram, as you know, a lot of people claim natty. You know, they say they're natty, they're natural, they're unenhanced, which is most of the time you can tell straight away it's full of the bullshit. The other one that really is mental, and that's it's a heated one, of course, but is that whole documentary called Game Changers that came out a few years back.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And it was a huge, I mean, of course, again, every month or every year or so, there's a new doco that stirs everyone up, and then it just disappears and no one talks about it again. But on that, there's a guy who's this bodybuilder, strength guy who's vegan, right? Which I'm sure he was. But that dude's full of injections. Like there's a lot of guys that claim they're a la natural, they eat one way or follow one thing, but then they're totally artificially enhanced. And that's where the confusion comes for so many people. Yeah. It's like, well, he said he eats freaking mung beans every day, all day. Like, how's he that massive and that jacked? Oh, he didn't talk about the fact that, you know, steroids are vegan. you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You know, of course, I didn't go there.
Mate, and what drives it? Fear, right?
Yeah.
The failure is a massive thing. When you commit your life to a sport, and you just what do you do? There are guys that have walked away from their chosen sports because they just won't compromise their integrity. Others have had to, and they become a slave to it because it's their livelihoods. I do certainly feel for athletes that have been trapped and put in that situation where it is either you do this or you're out. Yeah. Well, what do you do when you go to, you know, the classic again? We go to Lance Armstrong. He said they turned up with this great team of hyped up Americans, super fit as they could be. They fronted up to the start line and we're getting smashed day in, day out, smashed. And it was not one day, it was the next day, it was the next day, every day, getting absolutely pummeled, right? What do you do when you're in the best shape of your life and it's just not good enough?
Yeah, mate.
Do you accept your fate and say, fuck it, I'm out? When you've already devoted 20 years of your life. What I do like now, though, is, you see the young guys coming through. Because all of the knowledge that we have, all of the science that we have, all of the technology that we have to advance the improvement of athletes and breed them younger, when you see the old school starting to move through, right? It's kind of, I think it's a generational thing. My hope is that these young ones that are coming through don't get caught in that haze, and one of these super freaks, one of the young ones, gets popped. My hope and my belief that these guys are now almost bred to perform. It's nutrition, it's the way they live their life, it's their mindset. It's the way that they exercise, so they don't do junk miles. The old one, go in and run a marathon every day, you become a better runner. Run in the mountains for 9 hours, come back, and then barefoot. You'll be a better runner. It's not it's not like it used to be. We are so much smarter. We have so many more technological advances. The coaches are way better. There's a better philosophy. Looking after people are mindful of rest. And we can analyze performance to the nth degree. So people will tell you in any sport, they'll say, oh, don't use those shorts because they will add 2 watts to your running. It will mean that you will have to burn 5 more calories per 100 meters to actually wear these shorts. They know this shit. Which is incredible. So there are no excuses now. Is there probably something around now, some super drug that people are taking? And if there was, would people take it? Yeah, shit, 100% people will take it. We're naive to think they won't. Icarus was an interesting
good one.
Oh shit! If you haven't seen Icarus, peeps, it starts off a guy just wanting to test himself on drugs and see how better he could get in a race that was a cyclist endurance event, and he ended up meeting a Russian guy who was responsible for the entire Russian doping scandal, and it just unfolded, and it got super messy, and that's why Russia was banned from competing at the Olympics. Because everybody was doing it. Every sample was tainted. And the way they did it, methodical. Crazy. I mean, how would you feel like our New Zealand athletes, and you go in the best shape of your life, and you just know that these guys are a level up, and there's nothing you can do. All you can do is, I guess, in those situations, as we talk about all the time, do your best.
You can just hold the integrity to yourself. Do my best is all I can do. I'm running a race against me. But,
and walk away knowing that you've done that. But mate, are you trying to avoid failure? Are you trying to avoid fear by just throwing these questions at me?
Just been on the bush.
Just trying to do a bit of a U-turn,
mate. That's my fear. My fear of the reason why I've never been enhanced or taken anything like that. Because you get to a certain point, right, where you look a certain way or you perform a certain way. And at some point, you got to realize that you're never going to get back there again, right? Like if you were that guy that everyone knows was the most jacked or the most shredded or this and that. And that's why Instagram people these days are a major, there's so much hurt going to come because that's who they are. They're the big booty girls that are taking photos daily of them half naked. They're the massive jacked up dudes. They're all, I don't know about the females so much, but the dudes are all full of supplements, of course, but that's how they make their money, and they have to do more and more and more and more and start filming more extreme workout routines or stupid things like bicep curling 200 kilos or something and blowing their arms to smithereens. There was one recently, a guy bench pressing, I don't know how much weight was on there, on an incline bench with very poor form in terms of like how you should do it, and this whole pec, you see it tear off, thunk, and it's gone, this massive lump in his chest. And he's like, why was he doing it number one? Like, it just made no sense. So everyone's pushing the boundaries because that's the shock factor, and so it's just mental. And you'll never get back to those places again.
Clickbait, right? Shit like that is clickbait, is that clickbait, fearful that they will be forgotten. And that fear drives a whole lot of crazy crazy shit. Mate, all you and I are trying to do, we've got a commitment to front up. And can it be scary to do it? Like we said, mate, I know that there was no fear attached to it, just excitement, because this is what we're supposed to do. This is the path that we're on, that we know we're supposed to be here. So as hard as it is for me to review and stare into a camera and open myself up to being in a format where anybody around the world can access it. Is it scary? It used to be scary, but because, like I said, I'll refer right back to the start, because my purpose or my goal is overwhelming in its nature and positive, it's going to steamroll anything that gets in its way. Anything that gets in its way. And that's what I love. Like every chance, mate, that like you, I'm thinking, as soon as we get off this, we have a chat, and then we're like, okay, what's going to happen next week?
Yeah,
what's happening next week? We're about, and as part of this conversation, it kind of steamrolls, and we talk about a whole lot of other stuff. Will we revert back to a couple of the other things? And again, what we're trying to do is indent a couple of themes, and to make us remember that we are incredible individuals, and we do have the opportunity to do anything we choose to be, but why not be positive? Hey, all of the stuff I'm looking at, all of the stuff I'm reading is about the power of a positive mindset. We've gone through failure, normal, daily, fear, natural, process it. Will you be able to overcome it? Shit, yes, 100%. Why? Because people have gone there, done that. There are help videos, there are ways to process it, but you've got to unpack it yourself. You've got to be able to confront your fear. Why are you afraid of it? Ant Middleton, Who Dares Wins, SAS. And he was talking about a fear of heights. And he said, you get close to the cliff edge. And if all you can do is take 2 steps forward or 2 steps closer to the edge, you're actually starting to confront that fear. You've started the process, and that's all you need to do. Start the process of unpacking that fear. Is it rational? Right? It is. It's natural to be fearful of stuff. But if it's not rational, if you've unpacked the worst case scenario and this is nonsense, if you're walking out the door worrying about getting struck by a meteor or abducted by aliens, I don't know what the percentages are of success or failure, but I tell you what, it's not worth worrying about. If it's something that you feel everybody worries about, let it go. See you later. Because why would again, it's one of those another things that we carry, eh? Yeah, so that's what I do. Right. I actually laughed at myself, and that's what you've got to be prepared to do. You go, come on, mate, seriously? Yeah. Is that it? Right. And we've got the benefit of years on us to be able to say, and it's interesting that you say, failure is still in the back of your mind, and that's okay. It's kind of that. It's the highway, but it's proceed with caution. It's the fast corner, but it's the slow down to 85. Hey, so it's those little checks that we get on the highway, and what do we do when we come across a roadblock, or all we have to do is we stop, get the spade out of the back because we are prepared, and hook, and we remove it, and we just keep on going. Why? Because we are on the correct path. Challenge to everybody out there. Just ask yourself, are you on the correct path? Is it serving you the direction you're heading in? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Is it 100% designed in getting the best out of you? Are you doing it ultimately for you? Because when you do, we know the positive impact it can have on everyone around us, and we know your energy is different, right? If you're chasing a dream, you look like Andre Agassi. The torment that he went through playing the game of tennis. Read his book. Hey, the absolute turmoil and pain it took to get him to a stage where he was competing and hating it, being one of the most successful tennis players of all time, and hating it. Yeah. Was that the path for him? It was part of his journey, but he was forced to a space that probably he wasn't potentially ready for, but he managed to unpack it and beautifully unfold it and articulate it in a book. You know, managed, I guess, to meet his beautiful wife through the game of tennis, and that's maybe what it was all about. Maybe that was the journey for him. That was why that road was important, and all of that pain and all of that torture and all of those moments where he second-guessed himself and that doubt, he managed to meet his soulmate, love of his life. Maybe that was it, you know? So you can persevere to a degree. You can deal with failure time after time. If you continue to fail and beat yourself up, is it the right thing for you? You know, is it serving you positively, or is it continuously draining you? Because that's what we've got to identify. You know, like I say, this week was really interesting for me. I did have to check myself in terms of my positive motivation, and I felt like I pumped the brakes too much, and I kind of got to that stage where I was like, you know, like almost like I'd run out of gas. So it was just like, but I'm like, okay, mate, goals, let's go. Let's start writing some stuff down. Let's get some discipline. You know, even today, get up early, and I wanted to make the bed. I was like, okay, man, this bed is going to be military precision. But the cat had other ideas, and it wasn't for me to disturb the cat in its moment of peace. So I patted the cat on the head. It didn't move, and I left it, but I did straighten the bed around it. It wasn't perfect, but I had the opportunity to go back and do it later. Okay, it was still in the back of my mind. But I wanted to start off positively. I've got little habits, whereas I make myself a coffee, a little bit of beetroot juice in the morning for me. You know,
everything's a win. They're all little wins getting you set up.
It is momentum,
building momentum.
It is those little wins, and I kind of, you know, like you said the other day about the energy, what we need to do to break that hump. Sometimes just tuning out, taking a step back from it all, and that can be as simple as, you know, the preparing lunch, or scrambling some eggs, or cutting something healthy that you know is so good for you. You know, and just going through that 15 minutes out. Yeah, because we're in the job of hearing no a lot, and we're in the business now, or have the pleasure of talking about some pretty, what can be hard stuff for some people. But again, mate, you know, we're all about trying to help one or two people, and the fact that we've had some cool feedback from a couple of people that are listening, that have come back to us and said, hey man, what you've said has just worked. For me, you know, you're part of this conversation. We are, at the end of the day, we're having a chat to you, talking to you, because it's all about that spirit that drives us all. You know, we all want the world to be a better place. If you're part of it, if you're continuing to tune in, feel bloody good about it, because this is the whole purpose of the conversation that we're having. That means that you're in tune with it. That means that it is part of your mission to actually make the world a better place. And man, what better goal is there than that, eh? And being the best we can be in it. Because what do we get to? 40%, mate? Do we tap out at about 40%?
Yeah. Some people believe, for sure. Yeah.
The
governor, the internal government. Eh? Oh, yeah. I like
25%.
The David Goggins one, he says there's an internal governor, the governor that governs the engine speed, right? It can go to 220, but it'll cut out at 120, that kind of vibe. You reckon humans, like 40%. It's this little cutoff, but it's not even close to where you can push yourselves.
Yeah, and again, that's survival and that's fear. Some of the senses, and we need those natural brakes, you know, like the new cars that come out where you go plummeting towards a car and it backs off, it pumps brakes for you.
Yeah.
We need that. And you can see young kids, like think of a boy, 3-year-old boy, mate. They don't have that filter. They develop that. How do they develop it? By falling off a garage roof or crashing a bike into a wall, which is a parent's nightmare. But as soon as they develop the tools and the skills, they learn by process what it's like to fall over, what it's like to bleed and get cut, to carry those scars around, eh? We all have it. But again, as we grow up, the stuff that we carry that we're fearful of becomes objects, becomes what appears to be, you know, unclimbable mountains the fact that we're not made to feel successful because we don't drive a Bentley, or because we don't have a mansion on the hills, we don't have a sea view. Should you feel bad about that? Shit, no. What do we feel great about? Having people that love us. You know, look around. I talked to you about it before. Look around. The people that genuinely care for you, that have got your back. The environment that we have, the respect that we have in that environment. When you are down, people to pat you on the back. But also, when you are successful, if something goes right for you, for someone to go and go, fuck, man, bravo, that is awesome. You want people to share your successes as well, not go, oh, fuck, that should have been me. Why are you doing it? It should have been me. You know? You don't have to be competitive. You know, the world is a pretty big place. The universe is massive. There are deepest, darkest parts of the ocean where we don't even know what exists down there. There's plenty of room for everybody. There's room for everybody to be successful. But what we're trying to do is challenge you and point you into a more meaningful version of success. Hey, bro.
Exactly, bro. I couldn't get in there, mate. Bloody hell. You locked me out again, buddy.
Fuck, mate. Yeah, what you need is do you need a mute button?
I just had to go mute on Adam for a second. Hold on, mate. Get me in there. No, mate. Yeah, bro. Hard out, mate. I love it, buddy. I love it. Well, sometimes it's good. Mate, that's the beauty. I just sit back here and I engulf the knowledge, mate. And it's I'm part of the listenership. But yeah, mate, I love it. I think we need to post some reminders to everyone, just again, like, if you've made it through this far, please jump onto that Instagram, jump onto our YouTube. I'm not topless yet, mate? What did we say? 60 subscribers, 60. Mate. We're only at 30, aren't we?
36, I think. 36.
Oh shit, we're close.
Decent. We're over halfway, bro.
I'm training for it, mate. I'm getting prepped. Still haven't shaved though yet, mate. And so Instagram's getting good. I really like, you know.
It's going to take 100 for me to keep the shirt on, by the way.
He hands it off at the start of every podcast. So put it back on, mate. Again, on the Instagram, awesome engagement. Please post questions and feedback. Share. If you have any questions, like again, those daily DMCs, it'd be a prime opportunity for us, for Adam and I, to actually answer a question you might have. That'd be perfect. So if you have any questions about anything, post them in the DMs there, get them to Adam or I, and then we can actually use that as our content to help, share some more knowledge with you, And Adam, how are you finding the DMCs, mate? We got the daily DMC. Are you on the next one there, my bro?
I am, mate. And it's quite a serious one. But I think it's important, because we're going to have the ups and we're going to measure the downs. And what I like in life is those little moments where we get a reality check.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
And I got one of those. I got a massive one, a reality check for me in a moment. Those types of things stay with you. So I just wanted to share that, and whether you can do it in a minute, man, I could talk for an hour about it, and I could talk for days about this person in particular, but it's just one of those things where, I want to share that with you guys. I mean, we, like I say, we believe that you guys can be successful. We believe in the power that we all have, and we're just trying to promote that in any way we can. We're not going around painting rainbows over every dark cloud. There's going to be tough times, but again, like Cody, the fact that he brings the best out of me, in terms of the letting the conversation flow and the ability for me to chat about a whole lot of stuff. But we are going to come up against challenges, setbacks, fears, failures, but it's our mindset. We stay positive, and because at the end of the day, we're a team, bro. We're the DMC podcast team with a deeper, meaningful chats. But we really hope that you are going out and having chats to other people. A great example, actually, my wife and I were out for a walk the other evening, and we saw a lady that used to look after one of our daughters, our youngest daughter. And you know how sometimes you can just walk past and wave, like, fuck it, we're gone. And so we walked across the street. We found out that they were actually moving in 3 weeks. So we chatted to them about a whole range of stuff. Amazing people, had been through a whole heap of stuff. Both had cancer, and but both were you know, in phase of their life where they were retiring. And so we had a great chat to them, and I did remind her that she was a massive part of my daughter's life, and that my daughter still thinks about and talks to her, and that we would let my daughter know that she was leaving, and my daughter's making time to go and see her. But I just felt compelled to say, instead of just waving and saying, oh, look, there's so-and-so, mate, we're in, let's go.
So good,
let's go have that chat.
I mean, I think that's the whole thing behind it.
Because I had to say that thing. I just wanted to say that thing to her.
Mate, I love that, eh? And I think that's one of those intentions like we talked about on a daily basis. And that's where the daily DMC kind of comes into it. Like, imagine us all just having that intention on every morning to be like, my mission is to get deep and meaningful with one person today. And how about it be a stranger? How about it be someone from work? How about it be a phone call? Could be any way to do it, but actually set it up so that when the opportunity rises, like you did, you saw it, you took it. You didn't, the door was open, because that's what, you know, it's part of you. You want to go and do that. For a lot of people, it's not. So we need to open that door a little bit so that when the opportunity comes, we don't just shut a door or slam it or whatever. We go, hey, hold on. I'm peeling that open. I'm going in. Here we go. How are you?
That's the way the universe works, bro. Hey, the universe presents you with opportunities, and those moments you've got to be able to recognize them and be positive, maximize the opportunity, be opportunistic.
That's right. And be open so you can actually see them. They're everywhere every day. You know what I mean? But if you've just shut the door on life and you're just doing closed in on everything, you don't see whatever's happening around. You're going to miss so much. You're going to miss opportunity, relationships, friendships, experiences, all this cool shit that you can, you know, if you're just sitting there aware and looking for it. Imagine what you can find when you actually look for it, when you're actually looking around aware. So good.
And generally, you know, with a conversation with me, you're probably going to get a hug.
Oh, there you go. See?
I'm a hugger. And it's okay. And it's just a connection point. And, you know, there's nothing quite like a hug. I do it. My mission is just to make sure that I hold my family, give all of them a hug, the start of the day, if I can, and the end of the day, for sure, regardless of what we're doing. And even if it's just a virtual check-in, and tell them that I love them, make sure you're doing that with the people that you love. Make sure that if there's people that you trust, tell them. Make sure if there's people that you care about, tell them. And if you're in a position where you care about someone, don't be afraid to open yourself up.
There you go, brother.
Yeah, man.
I think that's a good challenge. That's a challenge set out there, a mission, like always, to the listeners to give it a blast. You got a week to make it happen. Get amongst it.
People, it's the reason, season, lifetime, eh? People come into your life. But there's a definite reason. You've got to identify it. And think about it. If someone comes back into your life that you knew years ago, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience, whether you have to unpack something or chat to them about something, or even just say thank you because that was the time of my life. Thank you for helping me through this phase, whatever it is. Just get out, have faith to open yourself up and talk about it. Yeah, man, because, you know, we love and respect you. This is why we're doing it. We know how powerful and strong you are, and that's motivating us to be strong and powerful, because we're going to change the world one attitude at a time. That's what we're going to do.
That's the Delta, mate. That's the Delta change, the change symbol. There you go, mate. Although I've got the ganky thumb, so it's just causing a little bit of drama at the bottom.
That's a podcast in itself. Cody's toe thumb.
We'll go physical abnormalities another time, eh? Let's just leave that out for today. It's a different podcast. Oh, we lost him. We've lost him. We'll see if he comes back. All right, team. Well, on that time, we're about to shut this bad boy down anyway, so I'll seal the deal on the solo. Thank you all for tuning in and being part of this episode. Listen well, and I hope you enjoy it. Please share, like, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you all again on the next one. Take care, everybody. Cody and Adam out. Peace.